students, welcome to Sunil's tutorial. I am Sunil Birwani and today we will be doing this chapter called as halogen derivatives of alkanes. Let's see this. Now, what are alkanes? For that first let's understand what are alkanes. Now alkanes are nothing but they are saturated aliphatic hydrocarbons. They are saturated, that means there will be a single bond between carbon-carbon. Aliphatic, that means there will be straight chain. They are saturated aliphatic hydrocarbons having general formula CnH2n plus 2. Right? Okay. So now that we know what are alkanes, let's find out what are halogens. What are halogens? Halogens are reactive non-metallic elements of group 7, or I would say that they are reactive non-metallic elements of group 7. Right? Now what do you mean by halogen derivatives of alkanes? These are halogens, then what is halogen derivatives of alkanes? Halogen derivatives of alkane. These are compounds derived from alkane by replacing one or more hydrogen atom by one or more halogen atom. In an alkane, if I replace the hydrogen atom by halogen atom, then that is what is called as halogen derivative of alkane. Compounds derived from alkanes by replacing one or more hydrogen by one or more halogen atoms are known as halogen derivatives of alkanes. Right? How do I classify halogen derivatives of alkane? That means in halogen derivatives of alkane you have CH3H, you remove the H and you add an X. So you will remove the H will go out and X will come in. So you will have CH3X and you will have H coming out. Fine, do you get this thing here? So you are going to form halogen derivatives of alkane by replacing a halogen by a hydrogen. Right? Next. Classify. How do I classify halogen derivatives of alkane? Now, halogen derivatives of alkane are classified on the basis of the number of halogen atoms that have been replaced in the alkane. They have been classified as monohalogen derivatives. What are monohalogen derivatives? Monohalogen derivatives are those compounds which have been derived from alkanes by replacing one hydrogen atom by one halogen atom. Compounds derived from alkanes by replacing one hydrogen atom by one halogen atom. Right? So these are monohalogen derivatives of alkane. So they are formed by replacing one hydrogen atom by one halogen atom. Next you have, this was the first classification. The second classification is dihalogen derivatives of alkane. What are dihalogen derivatives? These are those compounds which have been derived by replacing two hydrogen atoms by two halogen atoms, right? Compounds derived from alkanes by replacing two hydrogen atoms by two halogen atoms. Right? Next, you have trihalogen derivatives of alkane. What are trihalogen derivatives of alkane? These are those derivatives of alkane that have been, these are compounds derived from alkane by replacing three hydrogen atoms by three halogen atoms. Compounds derived from alkanes by replacing three hydrogen atoms by three halogen atoms. And the last that you have is tetrahalogen derivatives. Tetrahalogen derivatives wherein all the four hydrogen atoms are replaced by four halogen atoms. These are compounds derived from alkanes by replacing four hydrogen atoms by four halogen atoms. Right, that's tetrahalogen derivatives of alkanes. Next. Now, compounds which are derived by replacing one hydrogen atom by one halogen atom are monohalogen derivatives. They are also called as alkyl halides. Right? Now, how do I classify alkyl halides? First of all, what are alkyl halides? Alkyl halides. Monohalogen derivatives. Monohalogen derivatives of alkanes are also called alkyl halides. How do I classify alkyl halides? How do I classify alkyl halides? Alkyl halides are classified on the basis of the position of the halogen atom in the derivative. Alkyl halides are classified as primary alkyl halides, what are primary alkyl halides? Where a carbon atom is bonded with one other carbon atom, then that is called as primary carbon atom. Now in primary alkyl halides, the halogen atom is attached to the primary carbon atom. What is carbon atom? When a carbon atom is bonded, when a carbon atom is bonded with only one other carbon atom, it is called as such a carbon atom is called primary carbon atom. Right? Now, in primary alkyl halides, halides. In primary alkyl halides, the halogen atom is attached. Halogen atom is attached. Halogen atom is attached to primary carbon atom. So when the halogen atom is attached to primary carbon atom, then it is called as primary alkyl halide. Fine, do we get this thing here? Next, once you have primary, the second alkyl halides that you have is secondary alkyl halides, right? What are secondary alkyl halides? Next classification is secondary alkyl halides. What are secondary alkyl halides? A carbon atom which is attached to two other carbon atoms is called as a secondary carbon atom. A carbon atom which is bonded to two other carbon atoms. A carbon atom which is bonded to two other carbon atoms is called secondary carbon atom. Right? Now in secondary alkyl halides, in secondary alkyl halides, the halogen atom is attached to secondary carbon atom. That's your secondary alkyl halides. Then you have tertiary alkyl halides. What are tertiary alkyl halides? Now a carbon atom which is attached to three other carbon atoms is called as a tertiary carbon atom. A carbon atom which is bonded to three other carbon atoms is called tertiary carbon atom. Right? So in tertiary alkyl halides, the halogen atom is attached to tertiary carbon atom. So that's your classification of alkyl halides. You can have primary alkyl halides when it is attached to the carbon atom which is bonded by only one other carbon atom. You can have secondary alkyl halides when the halogen is attached to a carbon atom which is bonded by two other carbon atoms, and tertiary alkyl halides where a carbon atom is bonded by three other carbon atoms. Next, let's move on to the nomenclature. Symbol, common name, IUPAC name. I hope you all remember your basics. Guys, I'll just write the basics here. One carbon atom is NADH, two carbon atom is ETH, three carbon atoms is PROP, four carbon atom is Bute, and five carbon atom is Pent. Remember, all you need to do is make sure that you count your carbon atoms correctly, right? First, CH3Br, one carbon atom. Therefore, this is methyl. Br, bromide. Right? When you are doing IUPAC name, the inorganic comes before organic. So this is going to be bromomethane. Right? Methyl bromide and bromomethane. Next, suppose if I have CH3, CH2, I, two carbon atoms. Therefore, this is going to be ethyl, iodide, methyl iodide. and this is going to be inorganic before organic. Iodo, 2 carbon atoms, therefore ethane. Right? Next, let's see this. Suppose if I have CH3, CH2, CH2, Br, 3 carbon atoms, therefore propyl. Br, therefore bromide. IUPAC name, inorganic comes before organic. This is bromo, 3 carbon atoms, propane. Right? Next, suppose if I have CH3, CH, CH3, Cl. Right? 3 carbon atoms. Therefore, this is going to be propyl. Cl, therefore chloride. Now guys, can you see this carbon atom? If you look at this carbon atom is bonded to 2 other carbon atoms. That means this carbon atom has to be a secondary carbon atom. Since chlorine is attached to the secondary carbon atom, this is sec propyl chloride. Fine? Next, the IUPAC name. Inorganic comes before organic. Take any one carbon atom as the first. That means chlorine is attached to the second carbon atom. Therefore, this is 2-chloropropane. The IUPAC name will be 2 because it is attached. Chlorine is attached to the second carbon atom. Chloro, that's chlorine. 3 carbon atoms, therefore propane. Next, let's see. CH3, CH2, 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 Br. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbon atoms, therefore butyl. Br, therefore bromide. So this is butyl bromide. IUPAC name, inorganic comes before organic. So this is going to be bromo butane. 4 carbon atoms, therefore butane. Fine. Next, suppose if I have CH3, CH2, CH3, CH2, CH, CH3 and I. Right? Let's see this. You have 4 carbon atoms, therefore butyl. Right? I, therefore iodine. So butyl iodide. Right? Iodine is attached to the second carbon atom. It is attached to the secondary carbon atom. How do I know it's a secondary carbon atom? If you look at this carbon atom is attached to 2 other carbon atoms. Therefore, this is a secondary carbon atom. Therefore, this is going to be sec-butyl iodide. Right? Iodine is attached to the second carbon atom, 2 iodo, 4 carbon atoms, butane. Fine. Next, let's see this. Suppose if I have CH3, CH, CH2, Cl, CH3. Right? 4 carbon atoms, therefore butyl, Cl, therefore chloride. Instead of chlorine being in the branch, you have the methyl group in the branch. Therefore, this is going to be isobutyl chloride. Right? Do we get this thing clear? Now, when you are doing the IUPAC name, you have to first find out the primary chain. Which is the primary chain? The chain that contains maximum carbon atom is called as the primary chain. That means the straight chain here is going to be the primary chain. The straight chain contains 3 carbon atoms. The straight chain contains 3 carbon atoms, therefore that will be propane. Right? Chlorine is attached to the first carbon atom, therefore this will be 1-chloropropane. If this is the first carbon atom, that means this is second carbon atom. Methyl group is attached to the second carbon atom. So this is going to be 1-chloro, inorganic before organic. 1-chloro, 2-methyl propane. 1-chloro, 2-methyl propane. right? Next, let's see another compound. C.
So,
Yeah.
why did I write that butyl and isobutyl?
When you have, instead of the halogen derivative, if you have a methyl group in the branch, then it is termed as iso. Okay. CH3.
It's a butyl. Should
1,
be
2,
propane
3,
or
4. 4 carbon atoms.
okay.
4 carbon atoms, therefore it will be butyl. Na? When you are doing common name, you count the total number of carbon atoms. You count the primary chain only when you are doing the IUPAC name, right? CH3, 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 Cl. Now if you look at this carbon atom, it is bounded to 3 other carbon atoms. That means this particular carbon atom has to be a tertiary carbon atom. So this is tertiary. 4 carbon atoms, therefore butyl. Cl, therefore chloride. So this is tertiary butyl chloride. Now the IUPAC name. When you are doing IUPAC name, you have to find out the primary chain. Primary chain is that chain that contains maximum carbon atom. That means this chain running vertically downwards is going to be my primary chain. My primary chain has 3 carbon atoms. That means that is propane. Chlorine is attached to the second carbon atom. Therefore 2-chloro. Methyl group is also attached to the second carbon atom. So 2-methyl. So this is going to be 2-chloro, 2-methyl propane. Right? Next, CH3CH, CH2, CH2Cl, CH3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total number of carbon atoms 5. So this is going to be pentyl. Cl, therefore chloride. Since I have methyl group in the branch, therefore this is going to be isopentyl chloride. Right? Now, IUPAC name. Let's first find out the primary chain. Primary chain is that chain that contains maximum carbon atom. The straight chain is going to be my primary chain. The straight chain has 4 carbon atoms, therefore this is butane. Chlorine is attached to the first carbon atom. Chlorine is attached to the first carbon atom, therefore this is 1-chloro. Methyl group is attached to the third carbon atom, therefore this is 3-methyl. So this is going to be 1-chloro, 3-methyl, butane. 1-chloro, 3-methyl, butane. Fine, do we get this thing here? Next, let's see this. Suppose if I have CH3, CH3, CH2, CH3, Cl. Suppose if I have a compound like this. Now, this particular carbon atom is definitely a tertiary carbon atom. Count the number of carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 carbon atoms. Therefore, this is going to be tertiary because this is your tertiary carbon atom. 5 carbon atoms, therefore pentyl. Cl, therefore chloride. So this is going to be tertiary pentyl chloride. Fine, do we get this thing here? Next. Now the IUPAC name. IUPAC name, I need to find out the primary chain. Primary chain is that chain that contains maximum carbon atoms. The straight chain is your primary chain. Straight chain contains 4 carbon atoms, therefore butane. The carbon atom which is closest to chlorine will be the first carbon atom. I could take either this or this carbon atom to be the first. Since this carbon atom is closer to chlorine, therefore this will be the first carbon atom. That means chlorine is attached to the second carbon atom. Methyl group is also attached to the second carbon atom. So this is going to be 2-chloro, 2-methyl, 2-chloro, 2-methyl butane. 4 carbon atoms. Right? Next, let's see another compound. Suppose if I have CH3, C, CH3, CH2, Cl, CH3. Right? Now, this is a tertiary carbon atom, but I don't have the halogen attached to the tertiary carbon atom. the halogen is not attached to tertiary carbon atom, right? In which case, this is when the halogen is not attached to the tertiary carbon atom, then it is called as neo. When the halogen is not attached to the tertiary carbon atom, then it is called as neo. So this is neo, 5 carbon atoms, therefore pentyl chloride. This is neo pentyl chloride. Okay. Find out the primary chain. Primary chain is that chain that contains maximum carbon atoms. So I can say that the straight chain would be the primary chain. If the straight chain is primary chain, it contains 3 carbon atoms, right? 3 carbon atoms, that is propane. The carbon atom which is closest to chlorine will be the first carbon atom. So this is the first carbon atom, this is the second carbon atom. I have 2 branches on the second carbon atom. So chlorine is attached to the first carbon atom, 1 chloro, 2,2 dimethyl. In both the branches you have methyl group, and straight chain propane. So 1 chloro, 2,2 dimethyl propane. Fine, do we get this in clear? So do we understand the nomenclature of halogen derivatives? Next, let's go on to preparation of halogen derivatives. Preparation of halogen derivatives. Now, preparation of halogen derivatives, there are multiple methods for preparation of halogen derivatives. Let's take down one at a time. First method is called as halogenation of alkanes. Halogenation of alkanes. Right? Now, let's see this with the help of reaction. What is halogenation of alkanes? When alkanes are reacted with halogen in the presence of diffuse sunlight or UV, you will get halogen derivatives. For example, what happens when methane reacts with chlorine? Methane reacts with chlorine, right? Methane means 1 carbon atom. Methane reacts with chlorine gas in the presence of diffused sunlight or UV, right? You would have substitution reaction taking place. 1 halogen is going to be substituted by 1 chlorine, so you will get CH3Cl plus HCl, right? This is methane, this is methyl chloride, right? Let's see another reaction of this kind. What happens when ethane reacts with chlorine? Ethane reacts with chlorine, right? Ethane, 2 carbon atoms. Ethane, right? So that means this is going to be H3H3 because the valency of carbon is 4. So 1 bond is between carbon and carbon. So there will be 3 and 3 bonds with on the other side reacts with chlorine in the presence of diffused sunlight or UV rays, ultraviolet rays, right? Same substitution reaction, 1 hydrogen is going to be substituted by 1 chlorine. So you will have H3CH2Cl plus HCl. So this is ethane and this is ethyl chloride. Fine. Let's do similar reactions with bromine also. What happens when methane reacts with bromine? Methane with bromine gas. Now, methane will react with bromine only in the presence of catalyst. Methane reacts with bromine. Now, the catalyst that is used for this reaction is aluminium bromide, AlBr3. Right? Methane reacts with bromine, same substitution reaction you will get. 1 hydrogen atom will be substituted by 1 bromine atom, so you will get CH3Br plus HBr. This is methane and this is methyl bromide. Right? Next, let's see another reaction. What happens when ethane reacts with iodine? With let's first react this with bromine. Ethane reacts with bromine. Right? Ethane, 2 carbon atoms, H3CCH3. Ethane reacts with bromine. Right? In the presence of aluminium bromide as catalyst. Same substitution reaction. One hydrogen atom will be substituted by one bromine atom. So you will get H3CCH2Br plus HBr. This is ethane and this is ethyl bromide. Right? Next, let's see the reaction with iodine. Now, iodine cannot be directly prepared. Alkyl iodides cannot be directly prepared by action of iodine due to the reducing property of hydroiodic acid. Iodine would combine with hydrogen to form hydroiodic acid, which has a reducing property, which makes the reaction a reversible reaction. See, I'll show you this. What happens when, say, ethane reacts with iodine? Right? Ethane reacts with iodine. Ethane, H3CCH3 reacts with iodine gas. Right? Now in this case, you will get a reversible reaction due to the reducing property of hydroiodic acid. One iodine is going to be substituted here, so H3CCH2I plus HI. Right? So because of this reducing property, you cannot directly have an alkyl iodide. However, if you want to prepare alkyl iodide reaction should be carried out in the presence of oxidizing agent. By carrying out the reaction in the presence of oxidizing agent, alkyl iodides can be prepared. For example, what happens when ethane reacts with iodine in the presence of, say, mercuric oxide, oxidizing agent. See, let's do this reaction. Ethane with iodine in presence of mercuric oxide, HgO. So ethane, H3CCH3 reacts with iodine gas in the presence of mercuric oxide. Now when it reacts with mercuric oxide acts as an oxidizing agent. So in that case, you will have substitution reaction, H3CCH2I plus, due to oxidizing property here, the hydrogen that you get from the methane group will react with oxygen to form water, and mercury reacts with iodine to form mercuric iodide. Now I'm very sure that the reaction is not balanced. So in that case, you will require 2 hydrogens. That's how water molecule will be formed. And iodine too. So you require 2 iodine here. In which case, this will be 2 ethyl iodide, water and mercuric iodide. So this is how you can prepare alkyl iodide, by using an oxidizing agent. Right? This is ethane and this is ethyl iodide. Fine, do we get this thing here? Now, what are the drawbacks of using this method? The drawbacks of using this method is, this method, although I have shown you, is practically impossible, because once the halogenation process starts, the chlorine gas, for example, if I react methane with chlorine, that will form methyl chloride. There will still be chlorine gas. That methyl chloride will further react with chlorine gas. It will go on till the time you get tetrachloride. So the reaction does not stop after one step, and that is the drawback of this. Fine, do we get this thing here? Next, let's see another method of preparation from by addition of alkenes. Of halogen halides to alkenes. Right? Let's try to see the reaction first. What happens when ethene reacts with hydrogen bromide? Ethene with hydrogen bromide. Ethene, carbon-carbon double bond. So out of 4, 2 valencies are satisfied in the double bond. That means there will be 2 hydrogen atoms on either side. Reacts with HBr. Right? You will have addition reaction. What is addition reaction? 2 or more reactants combine to give you a single product. So one hydrogen will go here, so you will get H3C, and the bromine will go here, so CH2Br. You have an addition reaction taking place. So ethene gets converted into ethyl bromide. Right? Next, what happens when butene reacts with hydrogen chloride? Butene with hydrogen chloride. Butene, 4 carbon atoms, and they are saying that instead of butene, let's take 2 butene. Right? So butene, 4 carbon atoms. Since it is 2 butene, that means the double bond is going to be there on the second carbon atom. So this is going to be H3C, CH, 1, 2, 3, 4, CH, CH3. This is my 2 butene reacts with hydrogen chloride. Right? In that case, again you would have addition reaction. The reaction would take place where the double bond is. Double bond would get converted into single bond. So you will have H3C, CH2, CHBr, CH3. Right? So this is 2 butene. Right? And here 4 carbon atoms, therefore this is going to be butyl bromide. Since bromine is attached to the second carbon atom, this is going to be sec butyl bromide. Right? Now this was where I was reacting a symmetrical alkene with a symmetrical reagent. What if I react an asymmetrical or an unsymmetrical alkene with an unsymmetrical reagent? Suppose if I react propene with, say, hydrogen chloride. Propene, 3 carbon atoms, propene, double bond, H3C, CH, CH2 reacts with HCl. Right? In which case, you have an asymmetrical compound reacting with an asymmetrical reagent. When an asymmetrical compound reacts asymmetrical, that means if I divide this compound from half, from center the 2 halves will not be identical. Similarly, if I divide the reagent from half, the 2 parts will not be identical. So an asymmetrical compound is reacting with an asymmetrical reagent. This reaction will take place as per Markovnikov's law. What does Markovnikov's law states that? What does Markovnikov's law state? It states that when an asymmetrical compound reacts with an asymmetrical reagent, the negative part of the reagent combines with that carbon atom containing least number of hydrogen atoms. The negative part of the reagent, that means chlorine, could either combine with this carbon atom or this carbon atom. It will combine with that carbon atom which has less number of hydrogen atoms. Right? So in the case of asymmetrical compound reacting with asymmetrical reagent, you will be using Markovnikov's law. Right? So in that case you will get, this will be CH3, CHCl, CH3 plus HCl. This is propene reacts with hydrochloric acid, in which case you will get 3 carbon atoms, therefore propyl, chlorine, therefore chloride. Chlorine is attached to second carbon atom, therefore sec propyl chloride. Right? Next, let's see another reaction using Markovnikov's law. For example, let's assume what happens when one butene reacts with hydrogen bromide. Why do I have plus HCl? No, I don't have plus HCl. One butene with HCl, right? Butene, 4 carbon atom, one butene, that means the double bond is going to be on the first carbon atom. So this is CH3, CH2, CH, CH2 reacts with HCl. If I divide this compound from center into two halves, the two halves will not be identical. Therefore, this is an asymmetrical compound. If I divide the reagent from center into two halves, the two halves will not be identical. That means this is an asymmetrical reagent. That means an asymmetrical compound is reacting with an asymmetrical reagent. That means I need to use Markovnikov's law, which says that the negative part of the reagent will combine with that carbon atom containing least number of hydrogen atoms. So in that case, my reaction will be CH3, CH2, CHCl, CH3. Right? So in that, this is your one butene and 4 carbon atoms, therefore butyl, Cl, therefore chloride, chlorine is attached to the second carbon atom, therefore sec butyl chloride. Fine, do we get this thing here? So this is your reaction by addition of hydrogen halide to alkene. Next, now in this I could have a reverse effect also taking place. For example, if I do the same reaction again, guys, I'll show you the same reaction again by use of catalyst. Let's see how the use of catalyst would affect the reaction. Suppose if I have propene reacting with HCl again. Propene with HCl, right? Propene, 3 carbon atom, propene, double bond, HCl. That means I have to have H3H, H2 plus HCl. The only difference is here I'm going to use peroxide as catalyst. Now when you use peroxide as catalyst, this is also called as anti-Markovnikov's law, or this is called as peroxide effect. What does anti-Markovnikov's law or peroxide effect state? It states that when an asymmetrical compound reacts with an asymmetrical reagent, then the negative part of the reagent combines with that carbon atom containing maximum number of hydrogen atoms. So instead of minimum, here chlorine will combine with that carbon atom which has maximum number of hydrogen atoms. That is called as your peroxide effect, or it is called as anti-Markovnikov's law, right? So in which case this will be H3C CH2 CH2Cl. This is what you will get by using anti-Markovnikov's law or by using peroxide as a catalyst. This is propene and this will give you primary compound. So this will give you propyl chloride. I could do the same reaction with one butene. Suppose if I have one butene with HCl, right? Butene, 4 carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, butene, the one butene, that means the double bond is going to be on the first carbon atom. That means this is CH3, CH2, CH, CH2 plus HCl in the presence of peroxide, right? Now in this case again you have an asymmetrical compound reacting with an asymmetrical reagent in the presence of peroxide. Therefore you will use peroxide effect or anti-Markovnikov's law, which says that the negative part of the reagent will combine with that carbon atom containing maximum number of hydrogen atoms. That means you will get H3C CH2 CH2 CH2Cl, right? This is one butene and this is going to be butyl chloride. Fine. So this was the reaction using peroxide effect. Next, let's see the next method of preparation. The third method for preparation is by use of alcohols. Now, you can have alkyl chlorides that can be obtained by using alcohol. What happens when ethyl chloride ethyl alcohol reacts with phenyl chloride. What happens when ethyl alcohol reacts with phenyl chloride? Okay, ethyl alcohol, ethyl CH3CH2 alcohol OH. Phenyl chloride is SOCl2. Right? Now, here hydrogen would react with chlorine to form hydrochloric gas. Sulfur will react with oxygen to form sulfur dioxide gas. One hydrogen, two oxygens in fact are out, and one chlorine is out, one sulfur is out. That leaves me with only one chlorine to react with the ethyl group. So you will get CH3CH2Cl. Right? So this is how ethyl alcohol gets converted to ethyl chloride. Right? Let's see another reaction of a similar kind. What happens when ethyl alcohol reacts with hydrochloric acid? Ethyl alcohol with HCl, hydrochloric acid. Right? Ethyl is CH3CH2 alcohol OH, hydrochloric acid. Catalyst. You will require zinc chloride as catalyst. Anhydrous zinc chloride, dry zinc chloride will be used as catalyst. Right? Now, in this case, you will have dehydration reaction taking place. This reaction is also referred to as this zinc chloride is also referred to as Lucas's reagent. So Lucas's reagent is used as a catalyst here, and the reaction is also called as production of alkyl halides by using Grove's method. This particular method is also called as Grove's method. Now let's see the reaction in itself. You will have dehydration reaction. That means one water molecule comes out. Alcohol, as it is, are dehydrating agents. Two hydrogens and one oxygen out. That leaves you with CH3CH2Cl. Right? This is ethyl alcohol and this is ethyl chloride. Fine. Next, what happens when isopropyl alcohol reacts with hydrochloric acid? Isopropyl alcohol with hydrochloric acid. Right? Propyl, 3 carbon atoms. Iso, no, we'll take this as sec propyl. Let's do the reaction with sec propyl alcohol. Propyl, that means 3 carbon atoms. Sec, that means I need alcohol on the second carbon atom. So in that case you will have CH3 reacts with hydrochloric acid in the presence of zinc chloride, dry anhydrous zinc chloride, which is called as Lucas's reagent. The method is called as Grove's method. You will have dehydration taking place. Water molecule is out, right? That means H, O and H is out. Chlorine will substitute the alcohol group. So you will get H3C, CH, CH3, and you will have Cl here. This is sec propyl alcohol. Right? 3 carbon atoms, therefore propyl. Chlorine, therefore chloride. Chlorine is attached to second carbon atom, therefore sec propyl chloride. Right? Let's see another reaction like this. What happens when tertiary butyl alcohol reacts with hydrochloric acid? Tertiary butyl alcohol with hydrochloric acid. Right? Now tertiary butyl alcohol with hydrochloric acid. Tertiary. First of all, I need tertiary carbon atom. Tertiary carbon atom, the carbon atom which is connected or bonded to 3 other carbon atoms is called as tertiary carbon atom. Right? Tertiary butyl alcohol, alcohol is OH, reacts with hydrochloric acid. This particular reaction takes place at room temperature. Right? You require concentrated hydrochloric acid. Right? Same dehydration reaction taking place, water molecule separates out. So you will get CH3C, CH3, CH3 as it is, and alcohol is substituted by chlorine. Right? This is tertiary butyl alcohol, and this is tertiary butyl chloride. Fine. Now I could still use alcohol in other forms. Suppose what happens when ethyl alcohol reacts with phosphorus trichloride. Ethyl alcohol with phosphorus trichloride. Trichloride. Right? Now ethyl alcohol, ethyl CH3CH2, alcohol, phosphorus PCl3, phosphorus trichloride. Right? In which case you will get here, you would get H3PO3 plus CH3CH2Cl. Now I need 3 Cls, so this has to be 3. That means this is going to be 3. So alcohol, that means 3 oxygens have been used, right? 3 hydrogens have been used. Yes, that is your reaction, balanced reaction. This is ethyl alcohol, right? This is ethyl chloride. Right? Do you get this in here? So in this case, you will get ethyl alcohol and ethyl chloride along with phosphoric acid. Right? Next, let's see what happens that instead of trichloride, if it reacts with pentachloride, what happens when ethyl alcohol with phosphorus pentachloride, right? Ethyl CH3CH2 alcohol OH reacts with phosphorus pentachloride PCl5, right? Now here you would get hydrochloric acid H would react with Cl to give you hydrochloric acid. Phosphorus will react with Cl3 to give you phosphyl chloride, and that leaves you with CH4, 4 Cls are gone. So CH3, CH2 and 1 Cl still remains. So this is ethyl alcohol and this is ethyl chloride. Right? So that's how you can prepare alkyl halides by using alcohols. So these are the 3 different methods that are used for preparation of alkyl halides. Right? We'll stop this here for the day. Thank you very much.